Hi everybody and welcome to today's webinar. Um, I'm aware that we've got people joining now, so are you all okay just to sit for another moment while people um, jump onto the webinar? I think we've got 50 so far, and I think we've actually got 120 registered. So if we can just give it one more minute, I will start absolutely at that time. If you want to just go and get yourself a drink, I will literally start in 1 minute, so you can, get something to drink now if you need it. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the webinar. My name is Pat Garland-Smith and I'm the training manager at Care First. We're going to look at mindfulness and how this can help during the coronavirus pandemic. I don't know how many of you know anything about mindfulness or how many of you actually practice it. So what I've done today is just given a quick overview about mindfulness and then an exercise I thought we could try. If you don't want to do that, there's no obligation for anyone to do it. So just dip in and out as it suits you. Any questions you can ask as we go through by writing them in the question box that you have there, and I will answer as many as possible toward the end of the webinar. If you don't want to ask anything now, then do email us either today, later, or tomorrow when you get the reminder about today's webinar if anyone had any questions. So good afternoon and welcome. So today, as I said, we're looking at mindfulness during the pandemic. And I wonder if we know what mindfulness actually means. It means maintaining a moment by moment awareness of our thoughts and feelings, our bodily sensations, and surrounding environment through a gentle and nurturing lens. So it's a kind thing. It's about being kind to ourselves and letting the thoughts and feelings that we're having come through and not judging them and not making them impact on anything that might be happening with us. When we practice it, our thoughts tune into what we're sensing in the present moment, then rather than rehashing the past or imagining what the future might be like. It's about being right here, right now. It's about being present. Now, when we talk about mindfulness, I'm aware that in our vocabulary, we often use it on a day-to-day basis. For example, we need to be mindful of how this is going to be perceived. We have to be mindful of the time. We have to be mindful of how this person may react. We have to be mindful of how people might feel. And it's a little bit like a warning, isn't it, to tread careful. We're being mindful, we're being aware, we're treading carefully. So that's what we use it for in our day-to-day language. And it's really interesting how we all start to project, and that projection is often unhelpful. We project into the future as soon as the moment we're born. So those of you that have had children, have children or care for children, think about when they were tiny. We used to say things like, "Oh, I can't wait for them to smile, to sit up, or to crawl, or to walk." We're pushing them forward. And the next stage, it's sort of, can't wait for Christmas now that they're older, or some family celebration now that they're older. It's going to be so much better fun this year now that they're that bit older. I can't wait to be able to take them on holiday or to play a sport or to join us in a hobby. And it's usually our hobby at that stage. So if, for example, we like swimming, we're likely to take the children swimming. If we like playing tennis, we're likely to take them playing tennis from a very early age. Whatever we do, we try to impose that on our children initially. Think of how many times we push them forward. I can't wait to see. I can't wait for when. I can't wait until. And those are sort of the mantras that we're giving out as we have our children. However, with that growth, with that development, we become more self-aware. We, children, start thinking for themselves, or we think for ourselves. They start questioning what we're doing and saying. They start rebelling a bit about it or against it. They start exploring their own ideas. They test those boundaries. Do we really have to go swimming today? Do we really have to do that? Do we really have to do that? And our boundaries start to be tested and pushed. How often have we said, come on, we're late for school, let's hurry up, stop dawdling around? Or you want to go and see somebody or go to run an errand. Oh, come on, you're always dawdling around. I'm always waiting for you. And those are the messages we're sending out to our children. And then they start to wander about seamlessly, aimlessly. But is it aimless? Think of the days before the pandemic when we used to do the school run and you'd be trying to get out the door in the morning to work and you had the children or someone distracting you from what you were trying to do and they were still wandering around, you know, in their pajamas, not getting ready for school. And we're saying, come on, will you stop wandering about? We need you now. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And that's the message we send out to our children. What about in the classroom or in your household where they are? What about daydreaming? How often do you say, for goodness sake, stop daydreaming? What are you thinking about? You know, when they stare off into space, maybe you do it yourself. Actually, they may not be daydreaming. You may not be daydreaming. You may just be stilling your mind for a moment or stilling your thoughts and just letting whatever happens. I'm aware or mindful that when I work in my office, I tend to look out through the window. Now, I'm not just looking out at the window for that sake. I sort of be centering myself when I'm looking out there. I'm surrounded by trees. I sort of look at the trees. I sort of look around me. Is it daydreaming? It looks like it sometimes, I guess, but really what we're doing is blanking things out that are rushing through our mind and just focusing on the here and now. We start to ask questions what we're doing it, why do we have to do that, why do we have to do that now, what's this about, can't it wait, do we really have to do this? And we learn, don't we, from watching others, if other people are calm and measured, then it's more likely that we will be. If we're rushing around ourselves, then it's more likely that our families and our young children may be doing that also. We also begin to get a competitive streak. Oh, I can probably do that better than them, or I might be better at this. And of course, if we take our children, our families to do sport with us, there is a competitive element to it. And all that self-development is beginning to grow, that self-awareness of what we do and how we manage and how we move forward. And we rush forward. It's very rare that we take our time, very rare that we take our time. And also, we often say there's no time. And I know I've said in my webinars prior to today that as a training manager, I'm often out and about with other customers, other clients, or big groups of people. And they often say, do you know what I would like? I would love just a few weeks at home. I would love to have time to get the house in order. I would love not to have this daily commute. I would love not to be traveling around the countryside. I would love to spend time with my family. I would love to start a hobby. I would love to tidy the house or tidy the garden. And you know what? We've had that time because when we made our New Year's resolutions back in the end of December, none of us thought that 3 months in we'd be housebound and stuck in the house, either working from home or not working from home, but we wouldn't be out socially mingling and interacting in the way we did. So time has slowed down. The traffic has decreased, things have decreased generally. There isn't that hustle and bustle around. So we're having more time to ourselves. In terms of the pandemic, how can we actually use mindfulness to help us during what's a challenging and for many distressing time? Well, being still, being in the moment can help reduce anxiety and therefore the fear of what might happen, the fear of what is happening, the fear of what has happened in the past. It helps us to put time aside to focus on what are we doing now? What's the purpose of this? What are we actually thinking about? It gives us time to ourselves because mindfulness can be practiced anywhere, but it is just that few moments of peace for you. It stills our activity, it grounds us, it keeps us still in that moment, and it helps us to concentrate on what's happening right now. And I think perhaps most helpfully, it stops us from projecting too far into the future. Because I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's taught us that we don't know what the future is going to look like. We may know what tomorrow is going to look like, but we may not know beyond that because things are constantly changing. And as we approach to come out of lockdown or easing the lockdown legislation wherever you're living in the countryside in the UK, various people are coming out of lockdown at different times. There's an increased anxiety. There's an increased fear of when I catch it, is it going to come back? What's it going to be like? And we're worrying about what might be, and we really don't know. So mindfulness helps us, particularly during the pandemic, to have that peace, to set that time aside, to still our activity and to concentrate on today, what's happening right now. And of course, as I said, it stops us projecting into the future. So how do we prepare for mindfulness? How do we prepare and develop that self-awareness? Well, we need to be more in the moment. What does that mean? It sounds really counselorish, doesn't it? In the moment, what do we mean? It basically means right here, right now. We need to get our focus back to today. What's happening at this moment? You're all sitting there listening to this webinar, but I imagine some of you are doing more than listening to the webinar. You may be checking emails, you may be looking around you, you may be doing something more than just concentrating and focusing on the here and now. It's okay when you're doing mindfulness to be aware of what's happening around us. We can't just block everything out because our minds don't work like that. We become aware of it, but we're aware of it in the background so it's not intruding into our thoughts. And it helps us to still our bodies, to sit now in the moment and just be. And it helps us to pay attention to what's happening right at this moment. And one of the really important things to remember in terms of mindfulness is don't judge yourself for any thoughts that may emerge. It could be that in your quietness, you're thinking of something that's happened that you're not really pleased about or very happy about. Don't judge that. Just let it come and it will fade away again. Let the thoughts and feelings just come. So how do we practice it? Well, we practice by setting time aside each day, time and space. We observe the present moment as it is. And I know that's easier said than done, but we need to try to do that. And we let our judgments just come in and pass. So how do we need to do more of that? We need to be in the moment and focus on today, right now. We need to be aware of what's happening around us and still our bodies. We need to pay attention and don't judge them. We need to return to observing the present moment as it is. We are distracted by thoughts, but it's about returning repeatedly to the present moment. Be kind to yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't worry about wandering off. Just recognize that you have and gently bring it back. And I'm wondering if people would like to do an exercise with me now around this. If you don't feel comfortable doing it, then of course don't. But what I'm asking you to do is sit down or stand anywhere, whatever you feel comfortable with. You can have your eyes opened or closed. And remember, there's no pressure at all to try this. All you have to do is be still and focus on your breathing, on your breath for just a minute. So if you'd just like to start by breathing in and out slowly, one breath cycle should last for approximately 6 seconds. So we breathe in and out. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and let your breath flow effortlessly in and out of your body. Let's just sit and do that again. So breathe in and out. Any thoughts that come in your head, just let them go. You can do that later. Just focus on now. Let your thoughts rise and fall of their own accord and be in tune with your breathing. So breathing in and out. And in and out. And just be aware of how your breath works its way up and out through your body and out through your nose. Things may be happening around you. That's okay. Just still. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Now, this is just a very short introduction to mindfulness, but there's lots of support you can get and things you can learn online about practicing mindfulness. I know there are some classes, I know there are some groups run that you can sign up to be part of, even though you may still be working from home at the moment. We can help at Care First with the emotional support that you may need in terms of your day-to-day stuff by providing counselling and support via a free telephone number. You'd be speaking to a qualified and an accredited counsellor. And Care First would give you the opportunity to speak about any issues, whether they're work-related or home. We assure confidentiality with 3 exceptional circumstances, and they would be any risk to children or vulnerable adult, the risk of harm to another, or the risk of the security to the organisation. And we provide a wide range of support and information for you. It's important sometimes to ask for support. And asking for support, should be seen as a strength and not a weakness. And I think it's important to put down your ideas about what others may think of you. Asking for support isn't necessarily going to damage your work career. Lose the idea that other people may see you as weak. They may be wishing that they had the strength to ask for help themselves. So it isn't weak, it's a strength. And Care First can support and help you in several ways, via the emotional practical support via the telephone, via the Zest platform that some of you may have, and by the lifestyle online information and advice. And your Care First lifestyle will look like this. And you enter your organisational username and password, and that will give you access to lots of support from Care First. We also do something on stress, and there's an article written on stress. There are articles written on everything that we've discussed during the last 18 weeks of lockdown. You'll be able also to view the webinars again through your work lifestyle, Care First lifestyle page. And you'll see there on the right-hand side, there's also a set of headset and a keyboard, and that's so you can contact our people online if you wish to do that. There's also a budget calculator because we're very mindful that the pandemic has taken its toll in terms of finances. People may have been furloughed, people may be losing their job. There's also the fear of that, and people will be doing differently. So there has been major concerns around finances. On the lifestyle site, there's a budget calculator there that can help you. There's also the Care First Zest line that many of you have, and that actually looks at setting your own goals, and it helps you to take control of your health and well-being. It asks you to go through several aspects of your life. I believe it's 10 aspects of your life, and it looks, as you can see on the slide there, like a Trivial Pursuit board, where each of those shapes, cheese shapes, look like cheeses, but they are actually 10 aspects of your well-being. And once you've filled in that assessment, it gives you a wellness score. And if you look at this page, you can see that there are some pictures at the bottom right-hand side here, and they're short videos you can watch to help you with your goal setting and achieving those goals. And please remember that Care First is there for you every day. You can access the counsellors and the information team. You can have management support. You can have information. And remember, there's also the Care First lifestyle site and the Zest site. Thank you for being there today and taking part in the webinar. I see that people actually are still with us and they haven't left after doing the exercise, which is really quite encouraging. So I've got some questions that are coming through now, and I'm just going to answer some of them as they come through. Okay, this is a question about the model of mindfulness that we use. And I personally don't use a model necessarily, because mindfulness for me doesn't need to be too complicated. There are many out there, and I suggest you find one that suits you. For me, it's just very basic mindfulness, being here, being in the moment, and being aware of everything that happens about. I usually practice mine first thing in the morning. I just sit quietly for maybe 10 minutes, not even half an hour or an hour, just 10 minutes, and get my mind, let it flow, let the thoughts come and go, and just get myself ready for the day. So that's what I actually use. Okay, we seem to be quite light on the questions today, so I'll sit for another few moments here. If anyone wants to ask a question, please feel that you can. As I said at the beginning of this webinar is really just a basic first line introduction to mindfulness. There are many, much more advanced sessions than this that one can have, but we're very just touching on that initial stage during these webinars. We're not going too deeply with anything really. Our webinar slides available in the lifestyle site? No, they're not actually, but the articles all are, and so are the webinars themselves. So if you wanted to contact your service manager, they would get the slides to you, or I can send slides to you if that's what you think would help. I've also got a question here about a family member who's struggling and really would like to help with mindfulness. How can you do that? I think it's exactly as we've said here, getting the person to still their body, really, not necessarily their mind, and let the thoughts come, in a positive way, just sitting and being still and quiet. I've got one here. How do I find my company's username and password to access it? I'm really sorry. I don't know which company you're actually contacting me from, but if you contact your service manager at Care First, they would be able to give you the information you need, or your HR or occupational health department should have it. Okay, I've got a really interesting one here, which is, what if before the pandemic, your main goals were to try and go out and try to meet new people, to try new activities? Yeah, I think this is something that people have said. They've said, we had this plan come the new year to do differently. We had this plan to join a choir or join a gym or do something, and now all that's been shot. We don't actually have the opportunity to do any of that. But I would say right now, that's pretty much the same for a lot of us. And I think a way of getting through that is perhaps looking at your goals, looking at what you wanted to achieve, and see if anything of that is available online. Obviously, meeting people face to face or going out is not, but there are lots of things that you can do online. I know there's a choir online, there's languages online that people are learning, there are quiz nights, there's all sorts of things to have that social interaction. Um, yeah, any tips on recommending a mindful moment? And any tips on remembering to take a moment? Wouldn't it be awful if we had to put in our diary, be quiet for 5 minutes or something like that, or have a mindfulness session? But initially, until we get used to it, until we get used to practicing something, it's like practicing and learning anything. The more practice we do, the better we get at it. So if you set a time aside, and don't beat yourself up if you can't meet it, but just try either first thing in the morning or last thing at night, thinking, I'm just going to have 5 minutes for me, and remove yourself if that's possible, and sit quietly and just go through the exercises we did today. Yes, someone says, often because I'm so upset in the moment, I forget about mindfulness until after the event, and by then it's too late. I don't think it is really. I don't think it is too late, because you can always think about it. We're all very good, aren't we, at blaming ourselves and going back over old things and rehashing them. But this is about saying, we can do differently here. Just try and build in that moment. There's something here that talks, does it have to be, is there an activity, or does it have to be based on breathing? Well, what I do is actually based on my breathing, because I can control what comes in and out. I can't actually control on what's happening outside of my own body and mind, but I can control my breathing. And so I think that's a great starting point. So try to do that. We've got one or two more here. Yeah, it's really centered around the breathing. Yeah, I do think it is, for me, centered around the breathing. Now, I've said that's for me, and I know other people may find that different for them. And as I've said, have a look online. There are many things there that can help you. You can sign up for a mindfulness course that some of you may, of course, find useful. Okay, I'm going to draw the webinar to a close now. If anyone does have any questions, please feel free to email us at Care First. Thank you all for your time today, and I do hope you've benefited from it in some way. As I said, try and not project too far into the future. Try and focus on what we're doing now. Thank you. Bye-bye.